Hey guys, Professor Bell, Comic Book University, and X-Men issue number 14, and if this don't look like an X-Men cover, I don't know what does. I love that as Scott winds up including a couple more people in the X-Men, boom, they show up on the covers and whatnot. I really love that. Alright, so let's get moving on this bad boy. We got Matthew Rosenberg writing, Salvatore LaRocca on art, Guru EFX on color art, and VC's Joe Caramunga is the letterer. LaRocca and Rachel Rosenberg are cover artists, and Gerardo Sandoval and Romulo Fajardo Jr. did a variant cover, and so did Paulo Rivera. Stanley and Jack Kirby created the frickin' X-Men. Title page designed by Jerry Powell. Okay, so this issue is called This Is Forever, Part 4, and I love what happens in this book, for the most part, almost for the most part. You have Multiple Man, Jamie Madrox, really showing himself to be genuinely creepy, which he could do easily. And every so often, when he's not being a total jackass, he can really come off as an absolute creeper, like stalker type. I mean, dangerous, hiding in the shadows. There's a whole bunch of us. Hey, yeah, that kind. But he's trying to track down Reaper, and a whole bunch of the they're going to eventually capture him because the scary kids, that's the remaining New Mutants, some of them infected by the techno-organic virus, are able to track him down. I love when Scott catches up with Madrox. It's like, so what happened? And he's like, oh, well, I was able to take him down easily enough. It's like, you know that I read Danny's field reports, right? Well, obviously I did not know that. So he's back to his original funny self. And yeah, Danny Moonstar seems like the type who would write not a detailed field report, but a field report nonetheless. So probably like an index card and drop it in a mailbox. But yeah, also she does seem to have her powers back. I mean, unless all of a sudden she found the Ranger's bow from the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, it looks like she's got her powers back. So yeah, madly in love. Danny Moonstar. Boom, girl. That's my girl right there. So, what do you call it? Valerie Cooper is also back in this comic book. That is always a welcome sight. She is a friend of the mutants. No matter what, no matter how coy she's trying to play and whatnot, she is a friend of the mutants. And that is something that every time that I see Valerie Cooper in a comic book, that's the thing that always comes to mind. She's on the side of the mutants. You know what I'm saying? If ever there was somebody who was, born in the wrong body, so to speak, it would be her, because yeah, she deserves to be a mutant, to be one of the in crowd. You know what I'm saying? She's like the honorary guest member, but nonetheless, love that she's in this and she's trying to help out, or at least it seems so. It's hard to really tell sometimes, but she seems to have found a way inadvertently for the Morlocks, the remaining Morlocks, to have a safe place to go to, because they need saving. The Marauders are out there, and it's not looking good for these guys. Anyway, Scrambler Man, wow. That's all I'm saying, wow. Wolverine, I don't feel is being portrayed very well in this. He's finally back. A couple of times we've seen him actually killing people, claws through people. I really hope that we see a lot more of that. I'm hoping we at least get one good Wolverine issue every couple of issues, because if not, we're just going to be asking him to go back on the Avengers and stuff like that. And honestly, in my heart, I feel that he would be better off with the X-Men, but if Matthew Rosenberg isn't going to make him go savage once in a while, I get it. There was the one part in here where Cyclops Avengers. They were confused for Avengers at one point. X-Men, take these guys out. Wolverine, no killing. The only way you could tell that it seemed under his breath is because there was an exclamation point in the top word bubble, and the one directly underneath that where he addresses directly to Wolverine, there's just a period. I'd really like if the brackets were used instead, because the greater than less than sign, so to speak, just instead. A lot of people in both of the major companies, Marvel and DC, have been doing that, to have people talk under their breath. And a couple people do things a little bit different. Scott Snyder has things done a little bit differently. Depends on which letterer you're discussing, which one you're working with. But If they had it in brackets, I think that would have been funnier to me, because it would have been an under his, a direct under his breath thing, X-Men attack, take these guys out, do blah 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 blah. Wolverine, no killing. That would have been great. Wolverine's got great hearing, so yeah, I think he would have been fine. I think he would have been just fine. But I still need to see him unleash. Cyclops, however, is being handled really well, even though he's not going around, pew pew pew, knocking people out. In these issues so far, besides several issues ago. In this issue, he doesn't really do much. It's implied. But there are a couple of really good moments in here. There's the part where he's talking and he says, I usually talk about regrets being left on a deathbed. It's like, it sounds like you've changed your mind on that. Why? He says, because I died and I had a lot of regrets. I'm going to tell you right now, I was eating a nice big block of Old Fort cheese, which is basically the Canadian way of saying aged. It's aged really well. It's sharp, all right? Actually, extra sharp. This was extra sharp cheddar cheese. I'm Italian, so bite me. And I also had some hot chocolate on the side of my nice little, this is my overnight cup. You know what I'm saying? Put it directly on the, you can tell I've used this in the field a couple of times, but what do you call it? Yeah, I'm sitting here eating my sharp cheddar cheese and my hot chocolate, and I had to stop. I had to put everything down for a moment when I read that part with Cyclops, because wow, like my heart fluttered a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, to me, Matthew Rosenberg gets it. Now, only the most die-hard X-Men fans, and Cyclops very specifically fans, are going to say, well, Cyclops did nothing wrong, there's nothing to have regrets for, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to argue against that, just based on the merits of what I've seen, of what I've read, and the fact that he's not the only person. It's not Cyclops. It's, Cyclops comics. It's Marvel comics, okay? Anyway, yeah, he has done some mistakes. He has done some wrong. And one of the people he's done some wrong to is Captain America. Everybody's got their perceptions, and unfortunately, perception is our reality. So there's lots of, 7.6 billion realities in this world, just based on all the different humans that exist. I was not happy to see Captain America at the end of this comic book, because throughout X-Men history, specifically in the last 6 years, a couple of changes have been made. Captain America is pretty much always written out of character, by being someone who's not just steadfast, but obstinate. Someone who believes in the old ways and will not change. He's obtuse and he just doesn't get it. So I'm not happy to see Captain America in this. The X-Men have usually stayed fairly separate from the rest of the Marvel Universe, practically since their inception. Granted, I just did a spotlight on story about what could be the last story that Stan Lee ever wrote for Marvel Comics, and one of the stories in there was one of his old stories, the first time that the X-Men and the Avengers met. So I know that they've crossed over. I mean, duh. But it's usually been very far and few between. You'll have every single character in the world crossing over with the Avengers, and then you'll have the X-Men. And they really only cross over with mutants. They've been a very underground sort of thing. Even when they were the #1 comic book out there, they were still very much secular. They stayed away from everybody else. Past 6 years or so, that's changed. And every time that Captain America crosses over, he always winds up looking like a bad guy in some regards. And sometimes not. But so I can't say I'm particularly happy to see him in this, but we'll see what happens. We'll see. So yeah, don't treat Captain America like a chump. Rather, treat him like he is, which is the most steadfast hero that has ever existed in the Marvel Universe, and is on par with Superman as far as his just his morals and his desire for true justice, and more than that, just a little bit braver than Superman, because, well, I mean, Superman's bulletproof. Cap ain't. and he will leave that shield behind in order to accomplish a mission. But I'm going to also need to see Wolverine being able to let loose once in a while. I don't need him to right away start butting heads with Scott, but Wolverine doesn't always follow orders very well. You know, just because he's been a soldier most of his life doesn't mean that he follows orders particularly well. So I'm going to need to see him cut loose once in a while, not just, Shink, come on, bud, I'm going to slice and dice you. Wolverine, don't kill. Okay, I'm going to swing my claws and scare you a lot. Yeah, like that's not Wolverine. I don't want to see that. And honestly, ship him over to the Avengers if that's going to be the case. Yeah, but anyway, whatever. Just aside from those two arguments that I have, this is an amazing comic book, and I'm really loving this. So yeah, X-Men. Again, I can't get over how good this cover is. This feels like an old Claremont issue. That's how good this feels, just by looking at the cover alone. But also the read inside, the art inside, all of it. Gorgeous comic book, and looking forward to next issue. Yeah, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.